Okay, so we'll do a quick intro. So before we start, I know it's been like over a month since the last devlog. However, this is mainly due to uni and uh, uni and work. However, I am still working on the project, and I'm also working on it being out on Steam. I've paid the fee, and now I'm just creating its web page. So yeah, it's like the quick intro. Now let's actually get into the workload. So on day 8, I've added a wind mechanic, and I've also changed some colors around in regards to the terrain. I just made it a bit more brown, I guess. I also remade some models. Well, I got a friend of mine who knows how to make models, and I've made the models for the enemy. This is so the game looks a little bit more polished. Again, it has a long way to go before it is actually polished. In this day, also, it was mainly just learning on how to remake the character model and how to like kind of import the made model and animate it and how to make it all work and whatnot. Also, if you look at the grass, you'll notice that on this day, I did actually blur it a little bit. This is because when I looked on other games such as or what's the other game? Skyrim. The grass is a little bit blurred and it's not like super high detail. So that's basically what I've done during day 8. Now in day 9, so on day 9, I've added a post-processing volume. I've added the saturation on it, and this is to make it just look a bit more nicer and get the colors to kind of stand out a bit more. As before this, the colors looked a bit bland and they looked a bit grayish. So I've added a post-processing volume just to kind of kick the colors out, I guess. I also varied the foliage around. So as you can see, there's some like yellow and white flowers, and I made some quick rocks. So I made it by just taking a picture of a rock and then doing something really quickly in Blender. Again, it's just to make the environment seem a bit more diverse. Finally, I decreased the size of the path. So the reason for this is so it just doesn't look like a German autobahn, as people say. As I've asked in Reddit, they just said that it's just too wide. So I've decreased that. Also, the person/citizen has now been textured and animated. And also I began messing with a world partition. So this is in case I want to kind of push the game into a more of an open world version. As again, 10 missions is not a lot of missions really to get through. So even if you can just kind of walk around, there's 30 missions and there's some mobs/monsters that attack you, just kind of bring a bit more life to the game. I'm not expecting like masses, but just to kind of experiment in that. Now on day 10, so this is when I actually created the world partition and recreated the mission 1 on the world partition. In addition, I've created more landscape materials. This is to vary up the amount of basically textures. So it looks a bit more realistic. So it doesn't look like it's all like just three textures repeating themselves. I changed the camera location for the player. So it's slightly above and a little bit further away or closer to the player. I don't remember from like yesterday. Or basically whenever I last developed it. So I did change it just a little bit so it looks a bit more like Skyrim/Witcher 3. And to be honest, this day was mainly learning on how to use the world partition. As I've ran into a lot of issues. I imported a height map into it. And then, as you can see here, when I'm actually playing the game, the textures didn't load. Again, this is an issue that has been fixed on day 11. So on day 11, this is like day 11/13, and during this time, there's been a lot of just bug fixes, I guess. So the first day day 11, I've created the landscape using nanites, and this is so I can make the displacement maps, so it looks a bit more realistic, I guess. The map looks a bit more popping out, I guess, like the rocks look like rocks instead of just a flat surface. During this time, I also had to like just debug it because the game, when I was trying to convert it to nanites, was constantly crashing. I did find out that this was due to basically RAM and I was trying to create all the, I think it was 8x8 or 7x7, depends on if you count the zero. I was basically trying to create nanites for all of them, and it was just eating up my RAM. So the way I fixed it is I decreased the amount of world partitions that I was switching into nanite, which took longer. And then I also increased the page file, which is like, it's basically downloading free RAM, kinda. It's a lot slower than RAM, but I changed it to 400 gigabytes. Again, the game doesn't use 400 gigabytes, but it's just to create those nanites, those nanite world partitions. Then I had some anti-aliasing issues. So as you can see, it kind of looks pixelated. It kind of just looks blurry, noisy. And this was due to anti-aliasing. So I had to basically turn it on, and that just got rid of that issue. Again, I changed the way the wind works, and I tried to make it better, but again, on this day, I did fail. Then I had some issues with the textures, where I would try and paint the textures and it would basically become black. And this was due to nanites being needed to be rebuilt. And I was like, I'm just going to leave it because it just eats up so much RAM to rebuild it. So I was like, I will leave it. I'll create them. I'll create the landscape partition by partition, where nanite is already built with the landscape textures. And also on this day, if you look on the top left-hand side, you can, very clearly see that there's a very crappy health bar. But again, this is going to be changed along the way. Now, finally, on last day, so this is like day 14. On this day, as you can see, I completely remade most things. So the first thing that I did was I decreased the amount of trees and foliage. This is so the game basically just performs better, as the most costly thing for the game was just making the shadows. So if I decreased the amount of trees, there would have to be less shadows, and it just made the game run smoothly. Well, not quite smoothly, but a lot more smoother. Also, as you can see, the trees, they've been changed. I used Photoshop for the trees. I basically just grabbed the same leaf and just put it over itself a bunch of times. Went into Blender, used the simple tree mesh thing, and just added a bunch of leaves, so it gives it a bit more of a Ghibli/anime style vibe, I guess. Again, this looks better than my really crappy trees. I know that some people don't like that style, but it looks better than the way I did it previously, which it looks crap. Also, I used Photoshop to add just a simple gradient on the grass. Again, it's mainly just to make it look better, so it doesn't look completely crap like my ones did, sadly, as they were quite realistic and they were just kind of dark and British vibes, I guess. But yeah. And then, of course, there's still a lot of work to be done. If we look at the frame rate, so it's staying at around 40 to 50 on normal. And then when we put it on high settings, as you can see here, it's about 25 to 30 FPS. Now this is on epic settings with the best textures, with the best shadows and everything. So, for an older graphics card, it's not too bad. Again, this can be improved on massively, and I'm planning on improving it, trying to optimize it. And that's kind of where a lot of the time's going, is to bug fixes and optimization to make sure that a low-end PC, I guess, can run the game reasonably well. I also changed the wind again. So I found out how to make it look nicer, and this was using vertex colors. So I'd add an additional color to the grass mesh, and it was going from white to red. And basically it just meant, it's kind of like weight painting. So the red is more wibbly wobbly. The wind affects the red UV or the red layer a lot more than the white layer, and this actually prevents the bottom from moving around as much as the top. As you can see, it still moves around a little bit, but it's a lot better in my opinion. And yeah, that's basically all I've done for the week of development, which for you guys will be like a month and a half. Again, I really do apologize. I had university and whatnot. But yeah, if you guys like enjoy the art style, if you guys are okay with the art style, if you guys, have anything to improve on, if you were like, oh, to improve on the FPS, you can do X, Y, Z. I'm more than happy for you guys to like message it in the comments, because again, the more the more help I get, the better the game is. And like, once again, I have began the process of getting the game up on Steam and getting the artwork and some like animations done. Well, I say animations, just some cinematics of the landscape done, so the game looks a bit nicer. Again, it's still very rough, but so that it's kind of like motivation. It's like, hey, you got it there, you gotta get it done. But yeah, that's everything for now, and I hope I will see you guys in less than a month's time, hopefully in like 2 weeks' time. But yeah, thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye.